Hey everybody, it's Mandy from Jebel Forge. I'm coming to you from the couch because I'm just not feeling that great today. Like, I'm okay, but just not fantastic. So I was gonna do a typical like pantry challenge video today, but I sort of want to talk about something. So yesterday, and this has happened before, but someone mentioned to Zad, oh, looks like you need to go on your post-holiday diet or something like that. And I'm like, I was pissed. I was not very happy. This is not the first time we've heard a comment like this from this person. And like, whatever, we don't have to like take everything that everybody says to heart and all that kind of thing. It's just frustrating. So there's a couple things I want to talk about in this video. One, it's really frustrating to me when someone says something like that to you and they like, how many times has that person lost 100 pounds? Never. Like, I know this for a fact. They've never had to do that. They are just naturally that kind of person that they just, and I'm not saying like they're making poor choices or whatever. Like, I'm not defending anything or whatever. I just feel like, why would you say something like that out loud? I just think it's rude and ridiculous. Anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing I want to talk about is because I am nauseous, like often, because so tomorrow will be week 7. We're kind of in the thick of the nausea, and it's not near as bad. Like, the boys were way worse. Like, I couldn't even function. I mean, I wasn't doing anything at this point. I mean, like, I can kind of do some things, whatever, with the boys, and a little with Zuzu. Zuzu wasn't as bad as Bud and Jamie were. That's Zuzu's thoughts on that. She wasn't as bad. This one so far has just been like mild nausea, which is good because, I'm not as concerned about miscarriage. Not that it couldn't still happen, but not as concerned because I have symptoms like, I am massively bloated and I am nauseous and I'm starving. So Zad and I usually do 2 meals a day. We sort of fell into this routine, I guess maybe while we were moving or something. I'm not really sure. I guess because like we would get up, we would eat, we would work all day, and then we'd have a meal like once we finally like crashed. Because when we were moving, if you're new, we moved from 2 hours away. We moved our entire homestead, animals, business, the whole thing. It took us like a little over 3 months to get all that done, and it was exhausting. So that was sort of the routine that we fell into, and it was fine. Like, we were both maintaining really well. So if you're like totally new here, I was like 315 pounds back in like 2022. And Zad was over 350. Zad had a heart attack, and when he came home from that, we completely overhauled life. We got rid of all the processed food, 99% of the processed food, and we just started eating a whole foods diet, and together we've lost over 200 pounds. We've just all established much better habits, and it's just been really good. So that was over 2 years ago now. I would say that Zad is close to his goal. Like, he probably needs to lose like another 40 or so. Before I got pregnant, I was shooting to lose like another 15, 20, something in that ballpark. Obviously, at this point, I'm just like trying to eat well and stay healthy and, whatever, gain like some normal amount, 10-ish pounds or something like that. Or even maintain. I mean, it's not like I don't have extra, so it would be fine. I had this conversation with my midwife, so I feel very comfortable with like my plan here. So I am hungry, like, I don't know that I'm necessarily hungry. I feel hungry-ish like every 2.5 hours. Plus, if I eat like smaller frequent meals, then I can sort of ward the nausea off like enough to continue functioning. So our plan here is that instead of, and why I'm telling you this is, well, when we're doing pantry challenge videos now, we're probably going to have more like 4 or 5 smaller meals instead of 2 bigger meals, which I'm actually like, I sort of had this epiphany yesterday because when we were at the midwife, she said, your stomach is about the size of your fist. And so eating more of that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I was like, that is so smart. Like, I never thought about that. I was focused on, okay, 2 800 to 1,000 calorie meals, and we're still like staying in our, like, where we want to be calorie wise, activity level wise, all that kind of stuff. And so I didn't really like I hadn't really thought about the whole stomach size thing. And I was like, wow, this is like so smart. Prior to her saying this to us yesterday, I had already been thinking like maybe we sort of need to like reset our metabolisms here because we've been maintaining, not really losing, not necessarily eating any more than we were. Activity level is about the same. Winter, maybe it's a little bit less than spring and summer and fall, of course, because we're outside, but not as much. So I had already kind of been thinking about this. So we are planning on doing like 5 400 calorie-ish meals at this point. So this morning we did some dippy eggs. There was some leftover pulled pork, and we had like a little piece of toast with a little bit of like garlic jelly on it or whatever. Super good, filling. After about 2.5 hours, I was hungry. So I did smoothies for like our next meal. I don't know what to call these meals now. But anyway, so for our next meal, I did smoothies. I feel like I finally kind of mastered this. So I did equal parts freeze-dried greens and pea protein powder, which was about half a cup of each. And then I did a quart of applesauce and a quart of peach sauce. And then Zad and I got, these weren't totally full, like maybe to like the neck. And then the littles each got like a pint, most of a pint, which was perfect. Bud's not here, Matt's not here, so that worked out really well. So I feel like I sort of have that down. And while it looks like baby poop, it's delicious. It's not gritty. Sometimes if you put in too much pea protein or whatever protein powder you're using, you can get a little gritty. If you do too much greens, it can definitely just taste like a wet salad, which is not great either. So I feel like I got that down, which is great. So I pulled out some ground beef and a deer loin. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with those things yet, but we'll figure something out. Really trying to stay protein heavy on meals just because we function better on protein. Like we always plan our meals around protein. The midwife was talking about like protein and greens, lemon and salt in my water, things like that, just to kind of keep things like where they should be. Suzu says hi. So that's kind of our plan here with where we're heading with meals. Zad's on board. I think it's a great idea. As far as our exercise, like where that is right now, so in the spring, summer, fall or whatever, I almost always throw a baby on my back, walk the mountain. It's like a 2 hour, it's like a 2-mile trip. Usually takes us like 40 to 45 minutes, maybe, depending. It's a pretty good elevation gain going up the mountain here. So I love that walk. But when it's like super, super cold, okay, not that we don't take our kids out and bundle them up and take them outside. We certainly do that. But these days that it's just like super dreary, rainy, whatever, I'm just running in place in the house. We did actually acquire a treadmill for free. So we do have that, which is something that Zad is going to start using because the mountain is really rough on his knees. So when he was 14, he was in a car accident and his dad and his brother died and he shattered the whole left side of his body. So his left knee is a mess. Obviously it was like repaired and whatever, and he can function and walk and whatever, but it just, things like steep inclines up or down is really rough on his knee. And then in his other knee, he tore his ACL and his MCL. So his knees are really rough. So something like the treadmill is fine for him. It's not as much pressure on his knee as walking like something with uneven ground and high elevation and things like that. So I've been lifting. So I mentioned, I think on Facebook, maybe back in like late fall, I had started adding lifting into my routine again, which I'm really glad because I can, now continue doing that into this pregnancy. I was talking to the midwife about like ab routine and things. And, her suggestion is just like after the first trimester, cut out like the ab stuff, stick with arms, legs, things like that, which I totally agree. I think that's a great idea. So that's where we are in our health journey at this point. If you've ever been in this boat, you know that it's just kind of like this constant evolution. When Zach got home from the hospital, we counted calories very, very strictly and lost weight like in a healthy way. We were exercising as a family all the time. And we still do that. Where we used to live, we would drive to like, Zuzu, can you stop? We would drive and go for a walk together. Here we can do that. It's not quite as convenient. So that's why we're sort of like figuring out what routine is going to work for each person. Like Bud and I can each throw a baby on and walk the mountain. I can run in place. I can run on the treadmill. Zad can walk on the treadmill. If we're out and it makes sense to go like for a hike somewhere or something, obviously we'll do that. And we live an active lifestyle as it is. Like we're caring for animals and children and running a business and homeschooling and all these other things. So it's not like we're just sitting on our butts all day. Well, I might be today because I don't feel that great, but that's not normal. So that's sort of where we're at as far as our health journey goes, being a little, little over 2 years into this whole foods journey. And like, I'm content. Like, it's good. Like, I feel like Zad and I are on the same page, which is that's a hard thing. Like, post heart attack, I sort of felt like the colonel, and I sort of had to be just to like, get us into a good routine and kind of snap us out of processed food and all this other crap. And not that we weren't canning, and I've talked about this before, not that we weren't canning and doing all those other things, but we were way overeating portions, and we definitely had processed food. I mean, I would say our diet was like 50-50 processed and whole food, and now our diet is like 99% whole food and like 1% processed. And we do treats and things, like in the summertime, we take the kids for an ice cream cone or things like that. It's not like we're like, completely ridiculous as far as that goes, but most things we make at home and we just enjoy it better. We enjoy the meals that we make. We make better food than we can buy out. We know where almost all of our food comes from, or a good chunk of our food comes from, whether that's us growing it or a local farmer or whatever. So if you have questions about this, let me know. I feel like every few months we're sort of reassessing where we are, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that our bodies can kind of get used to like our routines, and so I think this is going to kind of jolt us into, or maybe jolt's like too harsh of a word, but sort of just like reset our bodies into, okay, let's try a new routine now. Eating 4 or 5 small meals a day is going to be good for our metabolism, so I think there's a positive there. So that's the plan for now. We will see you guys tomorrow with another pantry challenge video, and we will be coming at you with these few smaller meals. And I think it's gonna be really great. We'll see you guys later.